What if I told you that the exhaustion you feel at the end of each workday isn't just from your actual job, it's from playing a game you never signed up for? You walk into the office each morning with your own goals, your own values, your own sense of what matters. But somewhere between the coffee machine conversations and the closed-door meetings, you find yourself pulled into something else entirely. Someone's whispering about budget cuts that may not even be real. Another person is building alliances for a promotion that might not even exist. And before you know it, you're scanning every email for hidden meanings, reading between the lines of every casual hallway interaction, trying to decode who's really on your side. This isn't work anymore. This is survival mode. And your nervous system can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a passive-aggressive comment in a team meeting. Both trigger the same fight-or-flight response that leaves you drained, suspicious, and constantly on edge. But here's what most people never realize. Office politics isn't something that happens to you. It's something you choose to participate in. And just like any other toxin in your system, you can detox from it. You can wash it out of your mind and reclaim the mental peace that's rightfully yours. Tonight, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to examine the games people play at work, understand why they feel so compelling, and then make a conscious choice to stop letting other people's rules become your reality. This isn't about becoming naive or checking out completely. It's about developing immunity to the drama that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with other people's unhealed wounds. By the time we're done, you'll know how to walk into any workplace and remain untouchable by the politics swirling around you. Not because you're avoiding it, but because you've developed something more powerful, the ability to see it for what it really is. Office politics feels so real because it triggers our deepest human need for safety and belonging. Your brain is hardwired to detect threats to your social status, your resources, your place in the tribe. When someone undermines you in a meeting, when rumors start circulating about layoffs, when you're excluded from important decisions, your primitive brain interprets these as life or death situations. Your body floods with stress hormones as if you're being chased by a predator. But here's the thing. Most office politics isn't even about you. It's about other people's insecurities, their fears, their desperate attempts to feel important or in control. That coworker who takes credit for your ideas. They're terrified of being seen as incompetent. The manager who creates unnecessary drama. They're addicted to the feeling of being needed. The colleague who spreads gossip. They're trying to feel connected and powerful in a world where they feel small. Once you understand this, everything shifts. You stop taking it personally because you realize it was never personal to begin with. You're just a character in someone else's story about their own inadequacy. Think about the last time you got pulled into workplace drama. Maybe someone told you something in confidence about another team member. Maybe you heard about a decision that was made behind closed doors. Maybe you witnessed an unfair situation and felt compelled to pick a side. In that moment, you probably felt like you were being helpful, staying informed, or standing up for what's right. But notice what happened to your energy. Notice how your mind started racing with possibilities, conspiracies, worst-case scenarios. Notice how you began viewing your colleagues differently, scanning their faces for signs of deception or loyalty. Notice how you started playing the game without ever consciously choosing to play. This is how office politics spreads like a virus through organizations. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask permission. It just quietly infects one person at a time until everyone is operating from a place of suspicion and self-protection instead of collaboration and trust. Research shows that approximately 1 in 10 workers experience their workplace as toxic, with office politics being a primary driver. More telling is that 2 in 5 workers have considered leaving their organization because of political dynamics, and 25% actually followed through. But here's what the research doesn't capture: the psychological toll on those who stay. When you're constantly navigating hidden agendas and unspoken rules, your brain never gets to rest. You're always scanning for threats, always calculating your next move, always wondering who you can trust. This chronic state of hypervigilance doesn't just affect your work performance. It rewrites your nervous system. You start seeing enemies where there are none. You begin interpreting neutral interactions as hostile. You lose the ability to be present because you're always 3 steps ahead, trying to anticipate the next political landmine. The most insidious part is how normal it all becomes. You adapt to the toxicity so gradually that you don't notice when you stop being yourself and start being whoever you think will survive in that environment. You begin monitoring your words, your expressions, your associations. You start playing roles instead of being authentic. You become a character in someone else's drama instead of the author of your own story. But what if you could step out of the game entirely? What if you could develop such a strong sense of your own worth and purpose that other people's political maneuvering simply bounced off you? What if you could walk through the most toxic workplace and remain completely uncontaminated by the dysfunction around you? This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about developing the kind of inner stability that makes you immune to manipulation. It's about cultivating such a clear sense of your own values that you can't be recruited into someone else's agenda. It's about building such strong boundaries that other people's chaos can't penetrate your peace. The secret lies in understanding that office politics is fundamentally about control. Other people trying to control outcomes, perceptions, resources, relationships. And the moment you stop needing to control anything except your own response, you become free. You stop being a player in their game and start being the author of your own experience. The first step in this detox is recognizing the signs that you've been infected. Your body knows before your mind does. You wake up with that familiar knot in your stomach, already dreading certain conversations before they happen. You catch yourself rehearsing responses to confrontations that haven't occurred yet. You find yourself analyzing every interaction for hidden meanings, every email for subtle slights, every meeting invitation for what it might signal about your standing in the organization. This hypervigilance feels necessary, even protective. Your mind tells you that staying alert to political undercurrents is just being smart, being strategic. But notice what it's actually doing to you. Notice how it fragments your attention, scatters your focus, turns you into someone who's always looking over their shoulder. You're not present in your own life because you're too busy trying to predict and prevent scenarios that exist only in your imagination. The truth is, most of the political drama you're monitoring will resolve itself without your involvement. Most of the alliances and betrayals you're tracking have nothing to do with your actual work or your actual future. Most of the information you think you need to survive in that environment is just noise designed to make you feel important while keeping you distracted from what actually matters. Here's a radical experiment. For the next week, practice not knowing. When someone starts to share gossip, say you're not interested. When colleagues begin speculating about management decisions, excuse yourself from the conversation. When someone tries to recruit you into their camp, politely decline to choose sides. Notice what happens when you stop feeding the political machine with your attention and energy. You'll probably feel anxious at first. Your mind will tell you that you're being naive, that you're missing crucial information, that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But push through that discomfort and observe what actually unfolds. Watch how the drama continues with or without your participation. Watch how the supposed emergencies resolve themselves. Watch how the world doesn't end just because you stopped playing the game. This is where the real detox begins, not in avoiding toxic people or situations, but in changing your relationship to them entirely. Instead of seeing office politics as something you must navigate, start seeing it as weather you can observe without being affected by. Just like you don't take a rainstorm personally, you don't have to take someone else's political maneuvering personally either. When Marcus undermines Sarah in that meeting, when he takes credit for her ideas, when he excludes her from important discussions, those actions reveal everything about his character and nothing about her worth. The moment she stops trying to defend against his games and starts focusing on her own excellence, the dynamic shifts completely. She stops being reactive and becomes responsive. She stops being a victim of his strategy and becomes immune to it. But immunity isn't built overnight. It requires consistent practice, like building any other muscle. Every time you choose not to engage with political drama, you strengthen your ability to remain centered. Every time you refuse to take someone else's insecurity personally, you deepen your own self-worth. Every time you redirect your energy from managing perceptions to delivering results, you reclaim a piece of your authentic power. The most powerful people in any organization aren't the ones who play politics best. They're the ones who transcend politics entirely. They're so clear about their own purpose, so confident in their own value, so focused on their own contribution that they become untouchable by the small-minded games swirling around them. They don't avoid difficult people. They just don't absorb their dysfunction. This clarity creates a kind of energetic boundary that others can feel. When you're not available for drama, people stop bringing it to you. When you're not interested in gossip, people stop sharing it with you. When you're not recruitable for someone else's agenda, they stop trying to recruit you. You become like water to their fire. Instead of feeding the flames, you simply don't catch. The paradox is that as you become less interested in office politics, you often become more influential within the organization. People trust you more because they know you're not playing games with information. Leaders value your input more because they know it's not filtered through political calculations. Your colleagues respect you more because they sense your integrity. But perhaps most importantly, you respect yourself more. You stop feeling like you're compromising your values just to survive in a toxic environment. You stop feeling exhausted by conversations that drain your soul. You stop feeling like you're living someone else's life according to someone else's rules. This transformation doesn't require you to become passive or disengaged. You can still advocate for important causes, still speak up against injustice, still build meaningful relationships with colleagues. The difference is that you're doing these things from a place of choice rather than compulsion, from a place of strength rather than fear, from a place of authenticity rather than strategy. The detox process reveals something profound. Most of what you thought was essential for workplace survival was actually keeping you trapped in patterns that served everyone except you. The information you thought you needed was just noise. The alliances you thought you required were just distractions. The games you thought you had to play were just other people's way of avoiding their own work. When you step out of that matrix, when you stop playing by rules that were designed to keep you small and reactive, you discover something remarkable. you discover that your real power was never in your ability to navigate politics. It was in your ability to rise above them completely. The moment you stop feeding other people's political games with your attention, you reclaim the energy that was always yours to begin with. You walk into work tomorrow, not as a player in someone else's drama, but as the author of your own experience. The games will continue around you, but they can no longer touch the quiet strength you've cultivated within. This is your detox complete. Not because the toxicity disappeared, but because you became immune to it.